Our Discord is already hopping right now, folks. I got to tell you, I'm laughing at Mike Kutry, who just put in our Discord. If you're not sweating Andre Jackson props on a Saturday, are you really living? That's the sort of analysis you get here at FTN Bets. I'm your host, Mike Randle, Chief Content Officer here at FTN Bets. College basketball season is upon us. We have conference tournaments starting here on Monday. Great time to join. Like, subscribe. We had the big sale, $1 sale, just ended at midnight here. You get everything on the site for 1 month for $1. Best place to be here. College basketball hoops is back and better than ever. So thank you so much for joining us here. We are rolling. Fantastic slate. Great picks. Bringing you the content here. College tournament season. You won't want to be anywhere else. March Madness will have shows. Everything that you need here, folks. Ready to rock and roll. So let's move forward here and get to our games. Ton of games today, folks. A lot of interesting spots, senior days, stuff like that. I will get the ticker going as always on the bottom, so we're ready to roll. People jump in. They have questions. They can come to us there. So thank you as always for joining us. We're ready to go. Got our comments here. Baking up. Great slate today. Let's go. Yes, we have a lot of things to talk about. Tremendous content. We're going to roll through it. As always, let's rock and roll. First game here, Iowa -5.5 versus Michigan State. And I love Michigan State, so this breaks my heart to go in this direction. However, I think this is a Michigan State team that is coming off a big emotional game at home there. And now they're going on the road to Iowa, who is a very desperate team. The Iowa Hawkeyes need this game in a big, big way. They've lost a couple games in a row. They are sliding back here on my big board here at FTN. They lost to Northwestern away. They lost to Wisconsin away. But when they are home, they are usually very, very good. Won by 17 over Ohio State. Beat Illinois at home. Beat a good Northwestern team by 16. I think they're going to hang some points here. Remember, they played earlier this season against Michigan State. They lost by only 2 points in that game away. And in that game, they did not have Patrick McCaffrey. You had a solid game from Philip Rocca inside. They were to limit Joey Hauser. Tyson Walker had some issues in that game. So I think Iowa in a bounce back spot here at home against Michigan State. Michigan State had a lot of energy, a lot of emotion there with Indiana. Now they're going away to Iowa. I get that it's a high number, but I think in short, I think that Iowa's going to score in this game, and I don't think Michigan State's going to be able to keep up. And I also think they're going to limit Joey Hauser. I put that prop in as well. Joey Hauser can be a little soft, likes to hang around the outside. He's got a 15.5 point over under at Bet Rivers. We were going under with that one as well. So the first game here, we're going with Iowa -5.5 against Michigan State. Next one, you know me. I'm a big momentum guy, and I'm going to continue on the momentum with Texas Tech here, and that's what we have. Texas Tech has been absolutely rolling. They are a different team, and in many ways, Texas Tech thinks they can make the NCAA tournament. They think they can sneak in. They have won 4 games in a row, Kansas State, Texas at home, then away at West Virginia, then away at Oklahoma by 11. They are one of the hottest teams in the country right now. They are only 5-10 in conference. They're only 16-2, but if they win their last 3 games, TCU, Kansas away is going to be very difficult, and Oklahoma State, they end up getting to 8-10. Even if they're 7-11, they just have to win a couple games there in the Big 12 tournament, toughest conference in the country, and they can absolutely make it in. Last game, I like what I saw. Pop Isaacs was back. He hit 3 threes. Kevin O'Banner, Vardar's iMac has changed this team. I have been fading them all year long, but we do not have take lock here on the FTN College Basketball Podcast. I am going to lay the points here against TCU. TCU is ranked. They struggle from the outside. They have to mix it up. I did not like that effort against Kansas. They looked very tight. They were overpassing on the fast break. That Miles is throwing bounce passes to Eddie Lampkin. They were not attacking the basket. Now they're going a very tough place to play against a hot team. Everyone's going to be on TCU because you have a ranked team getting points. Whenever you see that on your card, the public is going to trend to that. I am going the other way, Texas Tech -2. Love Creighton here against Villanova. This is not the same Villanova team as in the past. People talk about Villanova and they look at them through the prism of when Jay Wright is there. He is not there anymore. Not saying that Kyle Neptune has done a bad job. And that was a very nice win over Xavier. But before that, they played Seton Hall at home, DePaul, Butler. These are not the same caliber teams. Now you're playing a Creighton team that needs this game badly after that loss. They played them tough at Creighton last time, but now they're home. They're coming off the now they're home. They're coming off the loss that they had earlier against the loss. I'm sorry, home to away at Providence. They did beat Xavier. That was a big one on the road. But my issue is Creighton needs this game coming off the loss. I think Creighton gets the job done. The number is too small. This is a belief to me in the fact that the Creighton Blue Jays with Ryan Kalkbrenner are a legit Final Four contender. A lot of people are going to like Villanova here. I do not. I know they make free throws well, but they still don't have a ton of depth. They're still not playing at the level that they've played in the past with Jay Wright, and I think the number is too small. This is straight up a belief in the Creighton Blue Jays. NC State versus Clemson. Have not been impressed with Clemson on the road, and I've been slow to warm to NC State, but I think NC State is legit. That backcourt that they have, they can light anyone up, and Clemson has started to bleed here. After a 10-1 start in the ACC, Clemson loses away at BC, loses at home to Miami, loses away to North Carolina by 20. By 20, North Carolina, who doesn't even have a quad one win. Florida State at home, they win big, and they lose away at Louisville. Terrible loss. They beat Syracuse at home. Now here comes NC State. NC State beat North Carolina at home, beat Wake Forest at home. They have senior day right now. The backcourt, Jaquavian Smith, Jarkel Joyner, both been fantastic. DJ Burns inside the big man. Senior day, home against Clemson. I believe in NC State. They put up big numbers here. They put 90 up at home. They put 92 against Boston College, 94 against Florida State. If Clemson gets behind, they're not going to be able to keep up with them. I am laying the points, 6 points here with NC State at home. I am also laying the points against Oklahoma with Iowa State. Hilton Magic, all I needed to hear is Caleb Grill is warming up. And yes, Caleb Grill is warming up. If that's the case, we're going to rock and roll. I'm taking Iowa State -7 here at home. Iowa State has played very well at home. They've had big wins, Hilton Magic. They now have lost 4 of their last 5. They've lost 2 games in a row to Kansas State and to Texas. And now they play Oklahoma, a team that they played early this year. They did win by 3. Now they need this game. They are sliding. They are 8-7. They are 17-10. At home, they are deadly. Grill playing. He was coming off the bench last time. Gives them a ton of threes. Oklahoma, it's a law of effort situation. They are 3-12. They then have to, they lost at home to Texas Tech by 11. That is a bad loss. They want to play to Texas in a big rivalry game, and they lost that game. I just don't think they have it here. I think you get a TJ Otzelberger defensive effort. I think you get an easy win by them over Oklahoma. I'm even looking at the first half line as well in this. I believe in Iowa State. They have played well at home. They have beaten the likes of Kansas by 15 points. They beat TCU at home by 11. I don't see how Oklahoma comes in and does what TCU and Kansas cannot do when you're dealing with an Iowa State team that is desperate, that is coming off of 2 losses. This one's up to you. Charleston with a big emotional win. They were down. They came all the way back. Now they're home here. Stony Brook has not looked good on the road. They've just been non-competitive here. I believe in Charleston. If they were going to slip up, they would have slipped up in that game against Towson on Thursday. This is now their last game. It's their senior day. They've 15-2, 27-3 in the CAA. They are tied with Hofstra. They can't lose this game because if they lose this game, they could lose possibly the entire conference regular season title. I don't think it's happening here to Stony Brook. Stony Brook has joined the CAA from the America East. So now you have a Stony Brook team who is the first time in this conference going on the road against Charleston, a team that many of us thought were locked to win the division, to win the conference for most of the year. Now you have them at home where they had a chance to lose and they didn't. It's a big number. To me, Charleston's winning this game. If you want to shy away, maybe down to 19.5, that's fine. But I'm locking in Charleston here against Stony Brook. I think they come out with a dominant performance. Can we slow it a little bit with UConn? I put UConn on my big board. They're a 3 seed right now on my big board, so I recognize how well they have done recently. But can we slow down a little bit? I'm not ready to lay this amount of points on the road with UConn. The metrics love UConn, and they played St. John's at home, and they lost. So this is a revenge spot. But I don't think we want to lay big numbers on the road with them. They played Creighton away. They lost by 3. They played Georgetown away. They only won that game by 6. They played DePaul away, big win. They played Seton Hall away, gave back a huge lead and lost. They played Marquette away and lost. They played Providence away and lost. They played Xavier away and lost. I don't know if we're laying these big points here with St. John's. St. John's 7-11, 17-12. 3 of their last 4, they beat Providence at home. DePaul away in double overtime, they squeaked it out. They were competitive against Creighton at home, but lost by 10, and Georgetown. A lot of points to me. I'll take St. John's. Joel Soriano, the big man in the middle. I'm not ready to lay points with the inconsistent guard play of Connecticut in the backcourt. Let's just take it easy there with Connecticut, even though they are a top 4 seed in my big board. How about this? How about this for the people who love this show? Mike White and 3.5? Yes, I think so. We are going with Mike White and 3.5 against Missouri. And the reason I am doing that is because I think if you look at Missouri, and Dennis Gates has done a great job, but they have been leaking lately. Missouri here has lost 2 of the last 3. They did squeak by the win over Mississippi State in overtime, but that was not a cover. So since Missouri had the big win away at Tennessee, they got destroyed by Auburn by 30. They came home and lost to Texas A&M. They squeaked one out against Mississippi State, and now they're going on the road against Georgia. Georgia, 3.5 at home. Terry Roberts, Kario Kindo. I normally don't like this team, and I wouldn't like them if they're a favorite. But if I'm getting 3.5 points against an inconsistent Missouri team that has really struggled here, not great on the boards, not great on defense, they make some threes, but they can be up and down. I am actually going to take Georgia plus 3.5, and I don't even mind a money line play. Every once in a while, remember, we were against Texas Tech, we were against Georgia, but in the right spot, you can get there. I like Georgia plus 3.5 against Missouri because I don't like the way Missouri's looked, and I don't like their defense. And those guards for Georgia at home can be very tricky. As much as I do not like Georgia, look at their season. They did beat Kentucky at home. They beat LSU at home. They beat Mississippi State at home. So they've had their moments here up and down where they've played pretty well. I don't like them getting 3.5. I'm not laying that on the road here with Missouri. Love Antoine Davis. Big game here for Detroit. And Wright State has played very well lately. But Antoine Davis, of course, looking to roll. It is going to be home. It is going to be his senior day today against the Wright State team. They played earlier this year away at Wright State, and they lost by 5. They've won 3 of the last 4. They have a tough loss against Kentucky. Wright State has actually been pretty good, but they have lost 3 in a row here. Tough battles. I just think Antoine Davis at home, small number, big game, Detroit Mercy. I don't think they're losing this game. I just don't think so. You have the scoring that goes with Davis for the record. I don't see it. It's too small a number. Detroit Mercy at home. Antoine Davis, one of the best scorers we've seen in college basketball in quite some time. Next up, Miami of Ohio versus Ohio. You know me. This is a classic spot here, classic rivalry spot for Miami of Ohio. I haven't really liked Ohio. You guys have noticed that, and I faded them a lot because they are rebound dependent. And they do have the big man inside, Dwight Wilson. But I think we're getting them at the top of the market here. They have won 6 straight games. They've been on fire. They're playing Miami of Ohio, who they beat at home 78-68. So now we have a rivalry game. They're going on the road. They're coming off the big one over Northern Illinois. And Miami of Ohio has been on a little streak themselves. They were 2-11, but they beat Northern Illinois on the road. They beat Bowling Green at home. I do not like this spot for Ohio. I like Miami of Ohio here with Travis Steele, of course, coming over from Xavier after being let go there. Rivalry game, 6 points at home with a home team that's been playing well in Miami of Ohio and a Ohio road team that has not been great. Yes, they have to dominate the boards, but if they don't dominate the boards, they normally don't pull away. And I don't think Ohio's blowing anyone out here. 6 points seems a point or two too high. We love this pick here. Home team, Miami of Ohio. We got some comments here. Colby, Mike White, what else is in that coffee? It's a good question, Colby. Wouldn't mind. Every once in a while, I put a little Sambuca in there, but not this morning. Mike White, I'm going with that. We got our good friend Jerry here. Loves the Georgia pick. Yeah, Jerry, I think 3.5 is a lot for a team with good guards against a Missouri team that I just don't think is that good. And Dennis Gates has done a great job for the Tigers this year, but their defense isn't really there. Georgia at home, they're going to rally. Remember, it's not about teams. It's about the spot. I think it's a good spot here for Georgia. Moving forward, Lehigh plus 3.5 against BU. Important to take a look at Lehigh here and know where they're at in the standings. Lehigh right now in the Patriot League is 11-7. They want this game because they want to end up getting that 2 seed. They are tied with Navy at 11-6 in the conference. So they're 11-6. Colgate has run away and hid at 16-1. So Lehigh needs this game. They've won 2 games in a row. Lehigh has been very tough. They shoot the free throws well. They're fundamentally sound. They also defend the 3 very well. Yes, they are away against BU. They were able to beat BU at home by 11. I think Lehigh is in a good spot here. and they're getting 3.5 points. So I think it is a coin flip game. I think Lehigh can win this game. It's a big spot and it has some trickle down effects in the future game with Navy, but I'll take Lehigh plus 3.5 against BU because I think they're very, very motivated. BU has not impressed me at all this year. Another team that I'm a little cold on is Kansas State. Kansas State, Jerome Tang, fantastic job early this year dominating. But can we be careful with Kansas State? I'm a little concerned about them getting into the tournament. I felt like they were overvalued, and then they got hot, and then they got cool. They lost 4 of the 5 games. They did beat Iowa State at home. They did beat Baylor at home, but they're going on the road. Look at the last 3 road games here for Kansas State in the Big 12. Road game Oklahoma, lose by 14. Road game Texas Tech, lose by 8 when Texas Tech was not playing well. Road game Kansas, lose by 12. Road game Iowa State, lose by 4. Road game TCU, 14. I'm not so sure that we like Kansas State on the road here. They're great at home. They're not fantastic on the road. And you want to talk about desperate. Give me Mike Boynton's Oklahoma State team with 3 straight losses. Kansas home, TCU away, West Virginia away. The West Virginia game was nuts. Now, I know that they have lost Avery Anderson, and he's out. But this is a small enough number that I think they get to the window here. Like the Oak State defense, like that at home, I will lay the small number there as well. That freight train you see that is coming is the Arkansas Razorbacks. The Arkansas Razorbacks, they are a team that is very, very dangerous. And now they're playing rival Alabama. They played earlier this year, and they played that game on the road, and they crushed Arkansas 84-69. But now it's a different team. And Arkansas lately, they beat Florida by 20. They beat Georgia at home by 32 and hung 97 points. They are ready to roll. And freshman Nick Smith has returned. Nick Smith is motivated for his team. Nick Smith is motivated for himself, for his draft position. And he's been a huge, huge boost for a team that is not deep. Nick Smith puts up 26 points in that game against Georgia. Now you're going against Alabama, all the off-the-court issues with Brandon Miller. Yes, Alabama's dangerous at home. Yes, they can light it up. But you're going to give me 8.5 points when Nick Smith is returned with Musselman's group, a group that we thought was really a Final Four contender at the beginning of the year. They've overcome Trevon Brazile. Musselman has them rolling. They've been hot. They want this game. Rivalry game, 8.5. Absolutely. I'll take it with Arkansas. The fate of Texas will continue. If you saw me on social media, I put out this year, I love Florida Atlantic, guys, and I absolutely cannot wait for Florida Atlantic to be like a 7 seed in the NCAA tournament and see Texas in their bracket in round 2. It's nothing against Texas. I think they've done a great job overcoming the whole Chris Beard thing, who's now being rumored to go to Mississippi. So Texas has actually done a nice job, and Texas right now is tied at 11-4 atop the conference. But what games are lurking here? You have Texas at 11-4 facing the following 3 teams to end the regular season in the Big 12. And we'll find out how good Texas is for all you Texas fans. At Baylor today, who needs this game badly. At TCU, who's going to be roaring angry now after losing that game to Kansas. And then home against Kansas. So you could see Texas really impress me. Prove me wrong, Longhorns, that you can go and finish the season on a strong note here. They did beat Oklahoma at home. That was overtime. They did beat Iowa State. Now they go against Baylor, a team that they beat at home by 5. Baylor is going to be motivated. I do believe in Baylor. Baylor coming off of 2 losses to Kansas and Kansas State away. Now they're coming home. I do believe in Baylor here. I love the 3-headed monster of Flagler, Cryer, and Keontae George. You have Jonathan Chachawa, who's been fantastic off the bench. Ordinary John, who's been a huge workhorse for them inside. I like backing teams with great coaches. I like backing teams with the veteran players. I like backing teams with a history of success. This number is small. People like Texas. Texas is getting a lot of publicity. 2 seed right now on my big board, but I think they're paper thin, and I think they have a weakness. Baylor minus 3.5 at home to bounce back. Tough one here, Princeton and Harvard. And normally this is a rivalry game, and I'm not going to go with it. But my issue has been I have watched Harvard a couple times this year. Very, very sloppy. Not the same level that I'm used to seeing them at. Princeton beat them at home by 3. Princeton now coming off an overtime loss to Yale, which is critical for them. Atop of the Ivy League, you have Yale, Princeton, and Penn all at 8-4. So you're going to know this is a motivated Princeton team coming off a loss. I just think they're better than Harvard. Harvard has won the last 2 road games against Columbia and Cornell. Those are not the same level of opponent. And Harvard has been a team that has beaten up on the poor teams in the Ivy League, but has not been able to find success against the top teams. Princeton away, lost. Yale away, lost. Dartmouth home, bad loss. Penn away, lost. Yale home, lost. Brown home, lost. Penn home, lost. Have not been good at home, been turning the ball over, can't make their free throws, can't shoot threes. Not impressed with them. I remember watching Harvard against UMass, and I'm like, this is not a typical Tommy Amick or Harvard team. Princeton, plus a half a point there. If it's at 1, I'd even grab it, no problem. I'm taking Princeton here coming off a loss because I think they are that much better than Harvard this year, even though it's a rivalry game. You can be careful with this one if you want. I just believe in Florida Atlantic. Florida Atlantic is just a legit team. They are very much a Loyola Chicago team of several years ago, the small school team that no one is going to want to face. They are 15-2 here in Conference USA. They are 2 games clear of North Texas. They can really wrap up Conference USA, and now they're playing UTEP. They beat UTEP away by 8. UTEP is terrible on offense. They're 62% from the free throw line. They're only 27% from three-point range. And the thing about UTEP is they get sloppy. They get sloppy with the ball. When you get sloppy against Florida Atlantic, it goes the other way for dunks and threes and all of that. I don't think they get it here. They beat FIU away by 5. Congratulations. But again, they have always struggled against the top teams here in the conference. I just don't see Florida Atlantic slipping up. I don't. This is a senior day for Florida Atlantic. They have 2 road games against Rice and Louisiana Tech. If they knock this game out, they own the Conference USA regular season. I know it's only 11. I believe in Florida Atlantic. People didn't believe in them. I got them 2 nights ago, the half and the full game. I'm going back to them again. Give me the Owls here. Buffalo at home is a completely different team. Buffalo away is a completely different team. Toledo really has impressed me against some of the tougher competition here in the MAC. Toledo sitting at 22-6. Toledo got through Akron twice. They got through Miami of Ohio. They beat Bowling Green. Now they're playing Buffalo. They beat Buffalo away by 9. They are on a 12-game winning streak. Toledo, 3rd longest active winning streak. Toledo is 13-2. They have a 1-game lead over Kent State. They cannot slip up, and I just don't see Buffalo here coming into Toledo on Toledo's senior day, their last home game because their next 2 games are away. I don't see it happening. Buffalo away, Ohio blown out. Akron blown out. Away, Kent State lost by 6. Away, Central Michigan lost. Away, Miami of Ohio gave up 91. I don't see it. Not Buffalo on the road. Have been sloppy. Toledo wants to win the MAC. Have survived the Kent State wars. Have survived the Akron wars. They're not going to slip up against Buffalo here. North Dakota against St. Thomas. I like this North Dakota team, especially at home. We did get them wrong the other day, which was disappointing. North Dakota ended up playing Western Illinois at home. They got that wrong. I don't think they're losing 2 games in a row. It's their last game of the year. They're playing St. Thomas. They lost away at St. Thomas by 13, but this North Dakota team prior to that had won 4 of the last 5, had played well at home, beat Denver at home, beat Nebraska Omaha at home, even won on the road against Kansas City. I like them here. There's a little regression coming here also for North Dakota. Teams are shooting almost 80% from the free throw line against them. St. Thomas, first time joining the Summit League here, lost away recently to North Dakota State. Now they're playing North Dakota. They've been a good home team, but away team, they have struggled here with St. Thomas. Underdog on a senior day, North Dakota, 2 points, perfect in that spot. Central Michigan, same thing, +3 versus Northern Illinois. Central Michigan, these Michigan teams, the Chippewas, those sort of teams, you have to be researching on them because you can really get favorable lines. Central Michigan here has lost their last 2 games to Ohio and Buffalo, but they're playing a Northern Illinois team that they lost away to. Now, Northern Illinois coming in had been hot early, was 4-3, then 6-4, 7-5 here in the MAC. Now they've lost Ball State away, Miami home overtime, Ohio away. Home teams getting points late in the season. Second time you face them against a team like Northern Illinois, who turns the ball over a ton, who's terrible on the boards, and terrible, the worst team in the MAC at the free throw line. No problem. Central Michigan +3 there. I believe in Radford. I've liked Radford this entire year, and I believe in them here. They need this win in the absolute worst way. Radford has been sliding in the Big South. Can you believe it? Radford has lost 3 straight games and 4 of the last 5. Now they're home senior day against Campbell, a team they beat on the road by 8. I believe in Radford with Darius Nichols in the Big South. They have struggled. They control pace. They're tough when they get up. They're very tough to come back on, but they were not up against UNC Asheville. They were not up against Longwood, and then they struggled away at High Point. I believe in Radford. I believe in the system. I think they get the job done here against Campbell. This is a coaching pick. 4.5, not enough. What line would I avoid it at? 6, 7, 7.5. I believe in Radford. They're that good. They are struggling, but I want the bounce back at home in their last game of the year here. I think we get it. Should William & Mary be really favored by 4.5 over anyone? I don't know. And Monmouth has been sliding, but I think this is just a lot of points for King Rice here. Monmouth really has been struggling, but 4.5 on the road. Yes, they struggled against Hampton, but they did score 81. They had a nice run there for a while. They struggled away against Northeastern. I just don't think William & Mary should be favored by that many points here, even though they're home. We've seen them lose at home to Northeastern by 12, William & Mary. So I'm not saying you can avoid this game if you want. It's not one of my top picks, but I just think Monmouth plus 4.5 to me is the pick. We got Don here. Is Virginia plus be a good pick for today? Don, the answer is yes. And I will jump ahead to that one for you because you brought it up here. I am taking Virginia getting the points against North Carolina. I have no problem with that. I don't get it here. Virginia, let me see what the odds are because they were moving this morning, this Virginia pick. The idea that I looked up and saw this line, let me just see where it's at. I'm looking at our odds page here at FTN, which is great. Yeah, it's 4.5 against North Carolina. I just don't see it, folks. 4.5 points with Virginia at North Carolina. I will take it. And I know Virginia has been awful, but on what planet do we think that Hubert Davis, who has struggled all year with this team, which obviously has terrible chemistry, how do we think that they are going to come back and get this win? So, yes, I am on that game. I am taking Virginia plus now 4.5 against North Carolina. It's just a pick I believe in at UNC. Let me put it in for you there. Thanks for that one. I believe in Virginia. They need this game badly. I still think that they're going to make a run here to finish the season. Disappointed, but North Carolina has been disappointed all year. So you're going to have a North Carolina team without a quad one win, with all the chemistry issues with Kayla Lubb, RJ Davis in the backcourt. Baycott has underachieved. Pete Nance, you took Brady Manicat, you put Pete Nance in. It's been a disaster. Now they're going to rally, and they're going to beat a disciplined Virginia team, and they have to win by 5. Forget it. I will take Virginia in that spot as well. St. Louis minus 11.5 against Loyola Chicago. You know I faded Loyola Chicago all year. Loyola Chicago, one of the absolute worst teams in college basketball against the spread. Loyola Chicago 8-19-0 against the spread. That's only 29.6%. The only teams that have been worse this year against the spread have been Tulsa, Georgia State, and Ohio State. St. Louis here at home in a bounce back spot that they need against Loyola Chicago. St. Louis, tough loss to Richmond away. They were winning that game. That was a big emotional game for Richmond with everything with Chris Mooney going on. Now they have Loyola Chicago, VCU, and Dayton. They are at 10-5 here in the A10. They are not going to be able to catch VCU. They're too far back, but they are behind Dayton. They do want to finish strong. This is a team absolutely with a lot of senior leadership that can make a run with Yuri Collins. I don't like Loyola Chicago. I don't trust them. They have lost 4 of their last 5. Their road games, they did beat UMass, but the only reason they beat UMass is because UMass had a ton of injuries, and Matt Cross, who was pretty much the best player going into that game, who was healthy, went out in the first couple minutes here. So prior to that, Fordham, they lose away by 2. Richmond, they lose by 3. Dayton lost. Duquesne lost by 14. Now they're going away to St. Louis. I will lay the big number here with St. Louis, who beat them by 17 at home earlier this year. Be careful with this one. I am taking Notre Dame. As much as Notre Dame has been awful this year, be very careful with this game. You want to argue this is a get-right game for Wake Forest after 2 straight losses. I disagree. The Demon Deacons are now without Damare Monsanto for the rest of the season. Monsanto, 13 points per game, 41% from three-point range, really solid three-point shooter. It's not like Wake Forest has a lot of depth either. He hit a lot of shots to them, especially late. Don't look now, but look at what ND's done the last few games. They are just 8-19-1 against the spread. Awful. 5th worst cover team in college basketball. Slightly better than Loyola Chicago, but they have covered 3 straight games against tougher opponents. Notre Dame covered at Duke, Notre Dame covered at Virginia. Notre Dame covered home to UNC. And if you throw the fourth game in there that occurred before that run, they actually failed to cover against Virginia Tech by a half point. They can still shoot. Wake Forest metrics are horrific defensively. No Monsanto. I will take Notre Dame plus 6.5 in this spot. No idea why Duke is laying 7. I guess the only reason that it's happening is because Virginia Tech has been absolutely awful on the road this year against the spread. You look at this team with Virginia Tech versus Duke. Virginia Tech is only 1-8 against the spread on the road. That's the 5th worst on the road in college basketball. But Duke is only 4-13 against the spread in the ACC conference. This is still Mike Young. It's a veteran team. Virginia Tech can shoot. It is too many points. I think it's headed the other direction. So if you want to grab it, I get it now. It should be down to 6.5. You know Duke's going to get the money. We know Duke is home. Duke has not been the same team all year, and they've been in tough spots. They almost lost at home to a Miami team when Isaiah Wong was under the weather, not feeling well. 7 points, Virginia Tech. I know they struggle on the road. I don't really care. Continue the fade of Duke. A couple other games here. Let's take a look. We got any comments? Do the Jayhawks keep rolling today? You know, Adam, I stayed away from this game. If I had to make a pick, I would take West Virginia because Kansas is just been so good. But at home here against a desperate Bob Huggins team, this reeks to me of the Kansas game against Oklahoma earlier this year. Remember that? That game was close. Kansas is going to win this game. They're not going to lose. But it's 10, 9.5, somewhere around there. That's an awful lot of points for a familiar West Virginia team. I am staying away from that game because I think it's way too many points. But it's an excellent question. Next one, I'm taking Bucknell plus 1.5 against Lafayette. You have to see where you can get this game. Lafayette has had all sorts of trouble after the issue with the coach. Mike Jordan was put on leave. And what has happened since then is Lafayette has kind of tanked here. They lost away Loyola, Maryland. Army lost. Colgate at home, they did keep it close and cover. I think that was a big effort game. It reminds me similar to the Richmond game when their head coach wasn't there. Then they rally and they came back. And then that last night, they ended up playing Richmond on the road against VCU and got their doors blown off. Same situation here. Now they're going Bucknell away. They played Bucknell earlier this year and they won, but they won in overtime. Bucknell has lost 2 straight games, but they have played tough. They played tough against American at home. They won by 21. They beat Army at home by 6. They have had some good games at home. I don't like them being an underdog. No way. Money line play in effect here. Give me Bucknell plus 1.5 against Lafayette. Colby, we're on the same wavelength. Any thoughts on a South Dakota State upset against Oral Roberts? The answer is yes. And in that game, I am taking South Dakota State. If you can see it on the bottom there, it's probably on the ticker. South Dakota State, we are taking them against Oral Roberts. Several reasons. First off, South Dakota State's been playing much better lately. They've been hot. Oral Roberts, the question is, do you think Oral Roberts is going to finish undefeated here in the Summit when they are 17-0 and have absolutely no reason? They have the nation's second longest winning streak, 13 games. And Oral Roberts, 17-0, South Dakota State, 13-4. No one is even close to Oral Roberts. So what's the motivation here? They're playing South Dakota State, who they played earlier this year and blew them out at home by 34. But what has South Dakota State done lately, the Jackrabbits? They beat Kansas City away. They beat North Dakota. They beat North Dakota State. They beat South Dakota. They beat Denver. They beat Nebraska, Omaha. They beat Kansas City. So you have South Dakota State, which is usually very, very good at home. Veteran coach in Eric Henderson. They have the 10th longest active winning streak, 7 games. It's right around that number that we talk about all the time, 5.5, 6, 6 points. And you have Oral Roberts with absolutely no motivation here unless they want to be undefeated. And I don't think that's enough. So yes, South Dakota State plus 5.5 against Oral Roberts. You know, I was wrong earlier this year about Loyola, Maryland, and they've been hot. But, you know, they've started to come back to the pack lately, haven't they? Loyola Marymount has come back. They have lost 4 of the last 6 games. They lost to BYU away big. They lost to San Diego away, awful loss by 8. They did beat St. Mary's at home, revenge spot in overtime. Santa Clara away, they lose. Gonzaga at home, get their doors blown off. Pacific, they win at home, but only by 2. I feel like my read on Loyola Marymount was just a little bit early, and now Stan Johnson's group is starting to come back to the pack. They are overly reliant on the 3. They score 38% of their points from beyond the arc. Going on the road, always a tougher place to shoot than the confines of comforts of being home. They don't shoot free throws well, only 67%. Loyola, they do not force turnovers here, so Pepperdine should be comfortable. Pepperdine, senior day at home. They beat BYU at home. They played Gonzaga at home. They scored 88 points. Pepperdine as an underdog against the Loyola Marymount team that has not been great lately. Smells like a money line play. Give me Pepperdine plus 2.5 as well. Not one of my top plays because this is a rivalry game, but Gonzaga's been really hot lately, and 4.5 is not enough points. If it got up to 6, 6.5, I'd be careful. But Gonzaga has been very good in these revenge spots. They have pounded teams. They're playing well. And as much as Gonzaga is a team that a lot of critics say is overrated for most of the year, now I'm starting to think that maybe they're a little bit underrated because they're playing better. Drew Timme should have his way inside. You're going to get a maximum effort. The kennel is going to be nuts here. Gonzaga at home. That's the play for me if you're going to take that game. I love San Diego State, but since Jalen House has returned, remember, New Mexico has been very, very competitive. New Mexico is on the bubble. Right now, I think I have them out. They may be in, actually. I'm not sure on my big board. I made my changes. But they have lost 5 of their last 6, and they're playing San Diego State, who needs this game. New Mexico is very tough at Boise State, had that game, and then they lost. They played San Diego State earlier this year, and they won. So this is going to be a revenge spot. But since Jalen House has come back, they are competitive. When Jalen House is on the floor, they are very, very good. House was out for 2 games there. That was a loss against Air Force away. That was a loss to Wyoming. But he comes back. They hang 96 points away against San Jose State, and they lose a tough game to Boise. With House back, with this team fully healthy, getting 2.5 points. Again, second time teams play each other in a conference game that should be close. Pitt, Wild, great home court advantage. Pitino's done a great job. House and Mashburn should be able to make some shots. 2.5 at home with them, I think, is very, very reasonable. You know, we struggle with Fordham, guys, the whole year, but here's my question. What exactly would be the reason to take Rhode Island? You have Fordham, who is 12-6 against the spread at home. Fordham, who is 18-10 against the spread overall. The Rams lost by 3 at Rhode Island early this year, so they have a revenge spot, a payback spot. You're going to get focused. They're not going to be sleepy. Will Richardson, the hot shooting freshman, was not playing then. He is playing now. Rhode Island is only 3-6 against the spread on the road, 10-17 overall. So what you have here is it's late in the year, and it's very hard for me late in the season, last game or otherwise, to pick against a good team, which Fordham is, who's been good against the spread, which Fordham is, who is good against the spread at home, which Fordham is, against a bad team in Rhode Island who is bad against the spread. I just don't know why you're not going to lay the points there. I can't come up with a reason to take the Rams in this spot. I don't know why. Home underdog in a bad matchup? Sure. This is not a bad matchup for them. Good team, solid record, good against the spread. I've struggled here with Fordham all year, but we're going back to them, and I'm laying the points with them as well. Josh Worth is in. He likes the South Dakota State play. I do too. Listen, Oral's great. Bax A-Smith's tremendous, fantastic. Summit League, I get it. But now you have a hot, veteran, well-coached South Dakota State team at home, getting that magic number 5.5 and 6. That's where I'm going as well. A couple more picks, folks, and we will get you out of here. 11:40, just in time for the 12 o'clock games. Watched Utah here. We got this. We had a perfect 4-0 day on Thursday, and we got it with the 7.5 with Utah covering against UCLA. I know they have some injuries, but it is a very tough place to play, and you have USC on this dreaded double. They go to Colorado, then they go to Utah. You're going to Utah here on the second half of this run against USC. Utah needs this game. They still want to make the tournament, and you have USC here going on the road against Utah. Utah, 3 straight losses, Arizona, Arizona State, UCLA, but they did cover in the last game for us by the hook. Now USC at home, senior night tonight against a USC team that they played earlier this year and lost by 15. Now USC, who's been up and down, they've won 3 straight against inferior opponents, Cal, Stanford, and Colorado. They just beat Colorado away by 19. A lot of people are going to be USC. Who does USC have on the docket after this game on Thursday, next Thursday? Arizona, the big battle here with Arizona, which is going to help their chances if they can get it. sleepy spot, whatever you want to call it. I like Utah. They're tough at home. It's the second game of that dreaded road trip with Colorado and Utah. They go back to back on the Thursday, Saturday. Love Utah here as well. No idea why I would take Florida. Vandy at home, 3.5. No Colin Castleton inside. Feel badly for Todd Golden. I think he's going to get it right. They had a nice little run there, but they are not making the tournament. Vanderbilt at home has been very tough. They had the last minute win over Tennessee. This number is not big enough here for Vandy. Like Vanderbilt, unless there's some injury that we hear about that I don't know about here, we are laying the points with Vanderbilt as well. I have absolutely no idea why you wouldn't take Kentucky. I believe Wheeler and CJ Frederick may even be back for this game. Auburn needs to muck it up. They're on the road where they haven't been great. They struggle on offense. They can't shoot. 3.5 is not enough. Kentucky is going one way. Auburn is going the other way. I know Auburn needs this game. I just don't see it here. Calipari and Kentucky continue to roll at home with Oscar Tshiebwe, who is about as automatic and reliable as any big man this side of Zach Edey in college basketball. Texas A&M continues to muck it up. My guy Travis is going to be mad about this, but give me Mississippi State with Chris Jans, who has gotten it right here against Texas A&M. Texas A&M has every chance to challenge here in the SEC. They are 13-2. They are just one game behind Alabama, but Mississippi State has played well. TCU, South Carolina, Missouri, LSU, Arkansas, all wins. Then they lose at home to Kentucky, a good Kentucky team, just by 3. Then they go again, the rivalry game. They beat Mississippi, and they're coming off the loss away in overtime to Missouri, which is a frustrating loss. But Chris Jans' defense is top 4 in the country in adjusted defensive efficiency per KenPom. Chris Jans has got it right. They had the streak there where they lost 5 in a row, 8 of 9. This is a different team. They are playing Texas A&M, who wants to muck it up as well. But Texas A&M, again, wins 6 games in a row, beat Tennessee, Missouri, Arkansas. I just don't see it. I think there's a point at which Texas A&M is not going to have a great shooting game, is going to have to come back to the pack. I like Mississippi State here as well. Since Dawson Garcia has come back, Minnesota has stayed very competitive. I am not laying 10 points with Nebraska at home. No, I am not. Minnesota plus 9.5, a later game here, depending on how we do. And we talked about Virginia, and I think that is it. Towson, I like UNC Wilmington here getting 1.5 against Towson. Towson with that big, really gave you a great effort. Without Towson has been fantastic this year because they lost earlier in the year Jason Gibson, who was so critical to them. But that was a bad loss, a devastating second half loss to Charleston. Now they have to bounce back against UNC Wilmington at home, their senior day, had to win over Stony Brook, had to win over Northeastern, had to win over 2 overtimes over Drexel, has been playing better. Don't like Towson coming off that big emotional defeat against Charleston. I do not like that here. So give me the home underdog with 1.5 points as well. Last one I'll get to you because I have to mention this one. Eastern Washington, folks. In case you don't realize it, the longest winning streak in the country right now is Eastern Washington. Great job by David Riley and the Eagles. They have an 18-game winning streak, and they're playing Idaho State here. Idaho State, a team they beat by 13 earlier this year. I just don't see them slipping up. Idaho State coming off the big home win over rival Idaho. I believe in Eastern Washington. They are disciplined. They play well. They are metrically good. They are the 5th best team inside the arc. I just don't think it's enough points. I've watched Idaho State, and I just have not been impressed. So give me Eastern Washington to continue the nation's longest winning streak here, minus 6.5 points. Last question. Boilers get revenge over IU today. Boiler up. It's a lot of points, Bacon. That's why I didn't pick it. It's an awful lot of points. Rivalry game. Yes, I could see them wanting to get payback. I would lean Purdue just because Indiana still has troubles in the backcourt, but it is a lot of points. It's a rivalry game. I just think there's better spots, but sure, absolutely, if you want to go that route as well. All right, let's get to the graphic picks here, and we will get out of here, folks. As always, thank you. Give me a like, subscribe. We appreciate that. We live off of that here at FTN, and the content has been absolutely fantastic. Here we go with our graphic picks. Arkansas plus 8.5 against Alabama. Rivalry game. Nick Smith is back. Bad mojo going around Alabama right now. Love Arkansas in this spot. Musselman will have them ready. I think it is a close game. I do not think Arkansas is getting blown out here. They'll be able to defend a 3 against Alabama and at least keep this one close. Miami of Ohio getting 6 against Ohio. Rivalry game at home, 6 points against an Ohio team that can struggle on offense if they cannot dominate you on the boards. Give me Miami of Ohio with the 6 points there. Oak State in a massive bounce back in a game they win against a Kansas State team that is very different away than they are at home in the Octagon of Doom. Oak State -2.5. Iowa State -7 against Oklahoma. I believe in Hilton Magic. They've had big performances against good teams. They'll be able to play defense there and make sure they can get out on the guards. I don't trust the Groves brothers inside. Give me Iowa State -7. Caleb Gribble's warming up. I assume he is going to play. Utah +2 versus USC. Utah, the second leg of that Colorado-Utah death trip the team struggled with so much. USC with Arizona on the horizon here. Utah played well. They got down against UCLA. USC is a different type of team. I think they can make some threes outside. So give me Utah as an underdog there. Have absolutely no idea why this number is only 3.5, especially when Kentucky is getting hot and getting healthy at the right time. Auburn on the road with that offense. No, thank you. Virginia +3.5 against UNC. Yep, I am going with Virginia. Had this as a graphic pick. UNC laying 3.5 to Virginia. No way. Not the way they've been playing. Not without a quad one win. We've had so many times this year, guys, where we said, okay, UNC is going to get going. UNC is going to get going. They haven't against the dominant team in the ACC the last few years, the Virginia Cavaliers. I don't see it. And give me Virginia Tech against Duke. The only reason this number is so high is because Virginia Tech has been absolutely terrible on the road, although Hunter Couture didn't play for a lot of those games, including the loss against Boston College, where he left midway through the game. And you have Duke, of course, who always gets the home money there. So give me them as well. Graphic picks, Josh. Let's rock and roll with them, man. We had a lot of them today. Folks, as always, thank you. FTN, college basketball team, dominating the Discord. We have so many great things. Frank Brank's model is up. We're going to have that in our articles. We'll have a conference preview of each of the 32 teams. We appreciate you. Thank you for your support, folks. FTN college basketball, the only place to be. Good luck today. Get to the window on some of those picks, and let's get ourselves some money and get ready for March Madness. Conference tournament season's here. NCAA tournament. It's the best time of year. I'm Mike Randle for FTN. We will see you back again on Tuesday.